Hi, everybody. It's Talk to Me Tuesdays. It's your girl, Anja, and I'm here with the best costume designer that I know. She takes cosplay to a whole nother level. She's a professional actress and she is a limbs different community activist. And of course, if you look a little closer, you may recognize her from Let's Make a Deal and The Kelly Clarkson Show. So please help me welcome the incredible, the amazing, the super talented. She's just awesome, Mandy!
Hi, thank you so much. I think that was the best introduction I've ever gotten. I
Oh
love
my
you.
gosh, you so deserve it because I think that you're just incredible. Like from the bottom of my heart, I think you just do amazing things. Like
Oh,
truly.
thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be chatting with you today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you. Okay, so here's my first question is what is cosplay and how did you fall in love with it?
Well, cosplay is kind of like making costumes, but I would say it's a little bit different because people really spend a lot of time and energy and money and planning into making these really elaborate costumes that go well beyond what you would wear for just Halloween or something. For me, I like to do like kind of original spins on familiar characters. So I've done a lot of princesses like Cinderella and Snow White. And I like to do kind of my own original designs as well. But yeah, cosplay is mostly just being a character from like movies or TV or video games, whatever kind of stuff you love.
How did you get into it?
Oh my goodness. So I started out sewing with for like Renaissance fairs. I really loved historical costuming. And then one year when my daughter was, I think 3, she wanted to be Belle from Beauty and the Beast for Halloween. And so I
Yes.
sewed her up a little gold ball gown. And I was like, I want one of these for myself. So I made myself an adult size elaborate ball gown. And we went around the neighborhood for Halloween, and all these little girls were like, "Oh my gosh, a real princess lives in this neighborhood." And I'm like, it was like the biggest high you could ever experience. And I'm like, I need more of that. I need more of this, like, I'm a real
I
princess.
love this.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so I just kind of kept going with it from there.
When did you start sewing?
Oh
Just
my
like
goodness.
regular sewing.
Yeah, probably like about 12 years ago. So it's been a little while. My husband actually bought me a sewing machine for our very first Valentine's Day together. So he had seen that I used to like sketch out all these little costume ideas, but I didn't know how to sew. So he's like, I bought you a sewing machine. And I was like, awesome, I'm gonna make a corset, which is a
So
terrible
wait a
first.
minute. I'm so mind blown because I literally thought you were gonna sit here and be like, "Oh, I learned how to sew when I was like 6."
No, like I was an adult. I was like 25, I think, when I first
No
started
way.
sewing. Yeah, yeah. So like you can totally jump into this stuff anytime.
Before we even get even deeper into this, because this is just when I tell you she's good, like I'm gonna have to show you. So let me just show you guys what she does right about now. You guys, isn't that incredible? All right, tell me more. Tell me more. So you sew these dresses. How long does it take to sew? Well, you do more than dresses, you do everything.
Yeah, it depends on the project. Cinderella is probably my most well-known one, and that one took probably 60 or 70 hours to make altogether. I've actually made some that are way more intense. I just did Dandelion from The Witcher 3, and that one doesn't look as elaborate, but there's so many tiny details that I probably spent well over 100 hours doing stuff. Like I recently I've been trying to finish it up. I've been making the bias tape for all the edges and like then hand stitching all this stuff on top of it, and it's a lot of work. But it turns out really great in the end.
So how often do you get to wear these costumes? Because you put so much love and work into them.
Yeah, so I mostly wear them for like photo shoots or conventions. I love going to Comic Cons. They have them all over the country. So I try to get to 2 or 3 a year just to kind of hang out and meet all the other geeky people that are my kind of people. And so I usually wear like if there's a 4-day convention, like I have a costume for every day, maybe 2 per day.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So
I
you
enjoy
travel around to the Comic Cons?
Yeah, they have them all over. This year I went up to Seattle just a few months ago to Emerald City Comic Con, but I love Dragon Con at Atlanta, Gen Con in Indianapolis. I've been out to San Diego Comic Con and New York Comic Con. Like, there's great ones all over the country.
Aren't you a judge now for them?
Yeah, I've actually been a judge for a couple competitions. So I've gotten to judge at Dragon Con, a costume competition, and then also at Gen Con. So it was pretty cool.
What is it like being a judge? Is it kind of nerve-wracking because you're like judging people's stuff? Because you're so supportive naturally. So how does that work?
Yeah, I think as long as you go into it, like you're wanting to make everybody feel good because people enter a competition because they want to show off something that they're proud of. And
Right.
so you want to make them feel proud of it. Like we have to announce a winner at the end, of course, but as you're going through and talking to everybody, like my goal is to make everybody feel like what they're putting out there is awesome. And this is a really close call and like keep going, keep improving all the time. But I love it. It was kind of weird because, like, for Gen Con, before Cinderella went viral, I went in 2019 and I was just a regular person. And then I go back in 2021 and I'm like, oh, I'm judging your contest now. Okay, that's weird, but awesome.
That would be kind of like, oh, did
Yeah.
you ever have like, oh, I'm like, I don't know, do you make it? Is there a moment where you're like, oh, I know that I'm good at this?
Um, I feel like I'm always improving. Like every single time I make a costume, I want the next one to be a little bit better. Even like ones that are very popular. Like I really wanted to redo my Cinderella and like make it
What?
even
Really?
better. I feel like there's a lot of things I could still improve on that. It's been cool to get a little bit more of a platform to be able to talk about things like disability awareness through my cosplay stuff. That's been pretty cool. I guess that's the biggest thing. You feel like you've made it. Is it's like, oh, I get invited to speak to kids with limb differences. Like I'm really excited.
So
So,
tell me more about that because that seems so powerful and empower like to empower others. Like, what is that like being able to talk to kids? Because I'm sure like people get bullied and like they're not sure, they feel different. So what is that like to be able to speak to just people about things like that?
yeah, I mean, that's a really like closely personal thing for me because when I grew up, like I didn't see anybody on TV or in the movies that had a limb difference.
Mhm.
And so it was kind of hard growing up and not really having role models that you could look up to and be like, "Oh wow, like they're so pretty, like I can assign that to myself too."
Right.
And so basically like now I'm really glad I have the opportunity to be able to put out, I try to be a role model, but also creating these characters that kids can look up to in these stories. And
Yes.
I think by seeing images like Cinderella and be like, wow, she is beautiful and smart and heroic. It's like if you see that, then you can also think, wow, I could be those things too. And I just really hope that by having these characters and role models, that kids are able to just learn to love themselves. I think faster than I learned to love myself. And so I hope that makes the next generation just that much better and that much more successful.
Did you have to like what did you have to you love yourself so much and it just radiates. So like how did you get to that point since you didn't really have that kind of representation? What
Hmm.
would you say?
I think for me, the biggest change was having community as I got older. When I was younger, I didn't know anybody else that had a limb difference, like not a single person until I was an adult. And
Mm,
so that was really hard. I always felt kind of different and I wasn't sure how I felt about my limb difference. And I feel like the world feeds back to you what you give it. And so
okay.
when I was unsure about my limb difference, and I felt like it might not be a good thing. I felt like I got that feedback from other people. As an adult, I finally got the chance to work with some other amputees and people with limb differences through a military training job. Like we helped out with as like trauma patients because it's really easy to pretend like you had a traumatic injury when you're already missing half your arm. But through meeting a lot of them and just being like, wow, these people are really cool and really smart and really fun. I was able to see those things more in myself and be like, oh, like this isn't a bad thing. It's just a thing. It doesn't define who I am. It's just one little puzzle piece in my story.
What about people who told you that you can't do this and you can't do that because you only have one arm? Like, how were you able to be like, actually, I can do full on sewing. I can do anything I set my mind to. So how did you navigate that when, maybe doctors or maybe like people from the outside or teachers being like, you can't do that. You need to just sit down and just have,
Yeah, I think that's definitely given me a very stubborn spirit as I was growing
good.
up. I don't think a lot of people directly said you can't do that. But I think a lot of people felt like they didn't know if I could do something or not. And so they didn't really encourage me sometimes. And so, I kind of had to find that inner strength myself and be like, I want to do this. And so I'm going to figure out how to do it. And it
Yeah.
may not be the way that anybody else does it, but like, I'm going to get this done. And I think you do have to have that kind of stubborn tenacity that it's like, if there's some obstacle in the way, like I'm gonna go over it or under. I'm gonna push straight through it. But I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Oh, that's so great. And like, I think that's so good for anybody listening that does feel different and have well, I think the world sometimes will tell you what you can and can't do,
Mhm.
whether like you said it's not necessarily direct, but like seeing how you didn't have anybody like on TV showing you that it's possible and you're like, I'm gonna make my own way. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think representation, like you were saying, is so important because, it opens up the possibility to someone. Like maybe you didn't think you could be a costume designer or a dancer or any other career because you've never seen anybody like you do that before. So just that someone is able to blaze that path ahead of you will give the next generation like more confidence that this is something that I really could achieve and I want to go for that goal.
Yes, I think that's great. So, the military is a very huge part about your life
Yeah.
and my life. So, let's just talk a little bit more. I know you touched on it lightly, but how did you become, what did you call it? Like an actor
I'm a
or a,
casualty role player,
yeah.
I guess, technically. That was kind of a wild process. So, I got married to a Marine. So, I'm still a Marine Corps spouse for about 15 years now. And when we moved out to California, when we first got married, I had a really hard time finding a job. And I saw they were having filming some show down there and they needed extras. So, I went to sign up to be an extra. And they gave me a call the next day and they were like, so if you want to be an extra, you can, but we also do military training if you want to get blown up and it pays better.
What? So cool.
And I was like, I don't know what this means, but but I went and tried it and I actually love it. I feel like it really helps people and it's doing good things. So basically we simulate combat scenarios or just some kind of a traumatic injury so that these guys and girls can practice on like real people that have real reactions. It's one thing to like put a tourniquet on a mannequin. You're like, okay, I know how to do a tourniquet. But if you
Yeah.
have someone who's really like yelling and hysterical and
Isn't there like fake blood too or
really,
something?
yeah, like our makeup artists are top notch. Like they make
No
it
way.
so realistic that like I can't even post things on social media because they get like blocked, they get censored. Like they're that good. So, but it's good. It's really good training. I think it's the best training you can get, short of actually having to deal with that. So yeah, I enjoy being a part of kind of helping them to get better and then maybe be able to save more lives in another situation. So it's pretty cool.
No, that's like amazing. And amazing because like you didn't just go for a posting that like you don't even know. Like you got there in such a weird turnaround. You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah,
it's like everything in my life is just this weird roundabout way, and you're like, cool, that's great, let's go.
yes." And do you feel like that moment for you, you're like, "Oh, I was made for this bigger thing than myself. Like everything that I bring to the table is exactly who they need to help these people, like
Yeah,
our troops and stuff." Did you feel like that ever?
yeah, I think I definitely did. I felt like, this was a role that only I could fill in a meaningful way. You know, if you have two arms, you can't really pretend like, you know, you're missing one. So you can't, you know, help them to do that training in the right way. I would say probably more when Cinderella came out with the glass arm is where I really had this sense of like I was made this way for a purpose that was greater than I could have even imagined previously. You know, definitely I think it's like a God thing. And, you know, it's just been very cool to see how something that I used to think was a negative is actually really positively impacting my life in a big way. And that's pretty awesome.
No, that's more than awesome. How did you come up with the glass arm concept?
Yeah, so this was it's just like a divine inspiration, I'm gonna be honest.
Okay,
So
great.
I had been reading some Cinderella stories with my daughter at school. We were reading like different cultures, how they had adapted the story, and it was really neat, but I was like, man, there's still no princesses that have a disability or who have a limb difference who I could really identify with. And so I started to kind of think like what would that princess look like? And it was like I just had this vision of her having a glass arm instead of a glass slipper. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, like I have to figure out how to make this come to life. Like it's amazing. And so it was cool. It was kind of a community project. So like I sewed the dress. I knew I could do that, but I had no idea how I was gonna make this glass arm. Like
Yeah,
that
right?
I'm a seamstress. I'm not like a prop glass blower or something. So I was talking to some people, and one of my friends at church was like, "Oh, you need to talk to Gilbert. Like, he's amazing. I went to high school with him. He works at the Disney parks. He's made stuff for them." And I was like, "Well, that sounds very expensive." And I'm a military spouse. I don't know. But he was like, "Just talk to him. Just talk to him." So I got in touch with Gilbert and I wasn't expecting much, but he was so excited and on board with this project. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a man who had never met me before, never talked to me before, and made me this beautiful piece of art like for
So
free. He didn't
beautiful.
even charge me anything.
Wait,
Yeah.
you said free?
Yeah. Like he was just so invested. He was like, this is something that needs to happen. It was amazing. And he actually got a landscaping company that he'd worked with before to let us use their like industrial vacuum chamber to make sure that like it's set and it didn't have any bubbles in it. And
Oh,
then
no way.
yeah, then my prosthetist got on board and helped me make the socket so I could actually wear it as a prosthetic. And so it was just really cool how so many people kind of came on board with this vision. And yeah, I'm just like, I'm grateful. I had a lot of like fairy godfathers and godmothers in this story.
I think that is a beautiful example of once you are walking in your true purpose and like people will come help you along your way on your journey, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I think especially if you're doing something that is kind of bigger than yourself, you know, like I was making a costume, but it wasn't just for me. I really felt like I was making this costume as a character that I needed to see when I was growing up, so that other kids who need to see that will now have it. Like this princess with a limb difference will exist in the world. And I think if
Yes.
you have a purpose like that, people really want to rally around that and help you make that dream come true.
When you were younger, did you feel pressured to wear an arm, a prosthetic?
Yeah, I actually did. I wore a cosmetic prosthesis until, well, probably my early 20s.
Oh, okay.
I felt a lot of this pressure, I think, to just kind of conform and to look like everybody else.
Mhm.
And in a lot of ways, I didn't want people to see my limb difference and judge me by that. Because I think a lot of times people we all have preconceived notions and we shouldn't have them, but we do. And people sometimes see a disability and they think that you might not be as successful or not be able to accomplish certain things. And I wanted people to know me based on my personality, right? And, you know, my own brains and smarts more so than what I looked like. Because I felt like this is the least interesting thing about me if you really comes down to it. And so I wore a cosmetic prosthesis for a lot of years, I think because of that. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I really wanted to kind of just embrace who I am and just be like, I don't need to change for other people. I don't need to, hide who I am. Like, this is who I am. And I will show them that I am capable. I don't need them to notice one thing or the other first. Like, they're going to see who I am and they're going to appreciate that, one way or another. So I just wanted to be true to myself.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's a good feeling to actually love who you are and not want to hide any part of yourself. To just be like, this is who I am. This is the package,
And I'm enough.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm good. So nobody gets to where they're at alone. Like, that's one of my favorite things. And so who is in your corner? Who has been in your corner? Who are the people? Who's your support system?
Oh my gosh, I have so many people, I feel like. I mean, my family has been incredibly supportive, both like my parents and brothers. And my husband is awesome. He was even Prince Charming in the Cinderella photos.
He dresses up too.
I make him dress up on occasion.
Okay.
So he was actually he was laughing because the picture of Cinderella just ended up in a Disney princess book, like an actual kind of encyclopedia of Disney princesses, and that was really like an impossible dream come true because I hadn't
really that's
seen
amazing.
This princess before, and it's like I created that space in this world. Like, that's awesome. But anyway, my husband's picture is in there too. And he was just like, he's a Marine. So, he's tough and, he's strong. And he's like, I can't believe I'm in a Disney princess book. But he's still my #1 fan. He's still awesome.
That's
and I
so
appreciate
cute.
Yeah. And then my daughter's cute. She's not my #1 fan because she said you can only be one person's #1 fan, and some YouTuber already has that honor for her. But she'll slip into conversation. She's like, yeah, my mom's in a Disney princess book. And people are just like, strangers are just like, oh, okay, sweet.
Okay. You're like, no, but for real, I am. Does she enjoy dressing up like you?
So she does not like princesses, which kills me.
Twist.
I'm like, you could be a princess. And she's like, I want to be a dragon. I want to be a lizard. So she, unfortunately, she still wants me to make costumes for her. She was an oxalotl, which is like an aquatic lizard last year. Yeah, she just brings me a stuffed animal and she's like, this
is what I want.
Yeah, but in human form, and
make it happen.
Yeah, somehow I do it, and so she keeps making crazy requests. But so she does like dressing up, but not in the same way I do, I guess.
Well, that keeps the household really interesting.
It does. Yeah, we've got the princess and the lizard. So.
Do you ever do? Does anybody ever commission you to do a princess dress for them, or just Star Wars or anything like that? Are you available to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had people ask before. I mostly now kind of sew for myself or really good friends, just because I think most people don't realize how much time and cost goes into every one of these.
So much.
Yeah, because I mean, you could spend several $100s on fabric and materials, and then you're talking 60, 70, 80 hours worth of work. That's a pretty high price point that we're getting up there. And so, yeah, so I feel like for me, it's more of a personal thing that I like to do for myself and creating the kinds of characters I want to see. And I feel like if I'm always doing things for other people, I don't have as much time to kind of create these limb different characters, that is kind of my purpose, I feel like, for doing all of this. So
very, very cool. I know one time you went to one of your events and there was a guy in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. You probably saw Ron. Was he in the Iron Merman?
Yeah, it was so cool.
He is so cool. I love Ron. He's a really cool guy. He's actually a veteran himself.
Oh, and nice.
He found cosplay as kind of a way to recover from an injury. and he's just continued making stuff, and he's an incredible human being. He's Arachnoid 3 cosplay if anyone wants to look him up. But
No,
yeah,
it's amazing.
he has just a great spirit about him, and he's also got that tenacity that, he's just gonna do what he wants and gonna put it out there. And I love him.
I
He's
love
great.
that. All right. So, anything else? Do you have like a last words of wisdom or any life gems that you would like to give anybody who maybe have like a limb difference or just anything that may be different or unique? We're all different, but you know what I mean. Like any words of advice for anybody listening?
Yeah, I think that if you feel different and you don't see yourself represented, I think we have the opportunity to change that. We have the opportunity to write our own stories, and create our own characters, and, blaze our own paths. And, I think that everything we can do as individuals to make things a little bit better for the next generation, is just awesome. And, that's one thing I say about accomplishing your dreams is that, the best dreams have a purpose. It's not a goal. Goals tend to be very, self-focused, kind of pass or fail. Like, I want to dance on Broadway. I want to join the NFL. But if your dream has a purpose that goes beyond yourself, like you really want to bring something good into the world, I think those are the best kinds of dreams. And you can see all these little steps to accomplish them. For me, I think my dream is just to make things better for the next generation by providing them role models and providing them characters that they can look up to. And the cool thing is that I can see little accomplishments with that all along the way. Like, you don't have to be famous to change a kid's life, like you
So
can do that
true.
one kid at a time. And so I would just encourage people, go after your dreams, and find dreams that are bigger than you. Find dreams that are going to ultimately make the world a little bit better than you found it. And that's my best word of advice, I guess.
No, I love it. I'm here for it. I think that is like true life gems. So thank you for sharing your love and light and truth. That's yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And you as well. I appreciate all that you're doing out there and just putting this positivity into the world and helping people see what they could achieve, what's possible. I think that's so important.
I think so too. And I think that no matter what your dream is, it can be reality, like
Mhm.
in some form or fashion. And I think that people, like you said, it's so much bigger than yourself, right? Because I think the moment you start dreaming, people around you start dreaming and creating and thinking it's possible as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, before we go, even though I just did my last words of wisdom with you, I have to swing back around to the Kelly Clarkson show. What? How did you get there?
That was crazy. So, well, I'll give you a quick background with
Okay.
Cinderella. So, I had originally intended that for the San Diego costume contest masquerade,
Right.
and that didn't work out. I have some serious health issues, and I passed out backstage and didn't get to go on stage. So that was like a dream, like, oh my gosh, that didn't happen.
Right.
And so I had these pictures, and I've been holding on to them because I wanted to enter the contest the next year. And my friend said, hey, could you show this little girl on my daughter's soccer team those pictures of Cinderella? Because she has a limb difference. And I just think it would help her a lot to be able to see these pictures of these princess. And I was like, man, if I put them out there, I'm not going to be able to enter this contest next year. But I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I think maybe all of this was just meant for this one kid. Like maybe that's what all this was for. So I posted it on Facebook, like publicly, so she could tag
You
them all.
did?
I did. I was like, you know what? Even if I can't enter the contest, I'm gonna put these out
Oh
there.
my,
I want
after
these people.
hours of like getting this costume together?
Yeah, so I just posted the pictures on Facebook, and I woke up the next day and there was like 25,000 shares by the next morning. There were so many comments. It was like crashing my computer trying to respond to all of them.
My
Not even
goodness.
joking. And so it ended up going like insanely viral. It was on the news, like literally all over the world. And yeah, the Kelly Clarkson show called and asked if I could come on. And I was like, of course. So I went on and it was a really great experience. Like Kelly herself is super sweet. It was just a really positive, uplifting segment. And to me, the best part, even more than meeting Kelly Clarkson, was I got to meet this other little girl who had a limb difference. And we got to do a photo shoot together as princesses. And just seeing her light up when I put on that Cinderella dress and put on the glass arm, I was like, man, like this is why I want to do this stuff. Like I just want to see kids light up because that's like the real magic in the world. And it was pretty incredible.
Wow, I'm so glad you were able to have the confidence to actually put it out there, even though you felt kind of like you're killing one dream. It just opened the door for
It
so
did.
many more possibilities for you.
Yeah. I think you always just have to be open to, just putting it out there and, thinking of other people sometimes can open up more doors than you even expected for yourself. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Tell these people where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram at Be the Spark Cosplay. So yeah, I'd love to have you come along and follow and see the latest things that I'm coming up with.
Awesome. You guys, like always, I put it right down here in the comment section so you'll be able to find her. Thank you so much for coming to my show.
Thank you. Really enjoyed being here with you.
Thank you. You guys, we have been watching Talk to Me Tuesday. It's your girl Anja. You can find me at it's your girl underscore Anja. Once again, it's your girl underscore ANJA. And until next time, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, comment, all the things. Check out my girl Mandy. Bye, guys.
Bye.